Hello and welcome to Perfect Glamour Fashion. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to sew this cupped corset with asymmetric hemline. In my previous video, we learned how to draft the pattern for this cupped corset. So if you have not seen that video, do well to check it out. The link is in my description and it is posted here on my page. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so I've gone ahead to cut my fabric with my pattern pieces, okay, and I added sewing allowance around each of the pieces. Now for the fronts, for the pieces that will be joined, I use 1/2 inch as a sewing allowance, but I left 1 inch at the sides, okay. Now I've also added my interfacing for the front and the back. I used for the fabric and the lining. Sorry, I used hairstay for the fabric. I used paper stay for the lining. Now I'm joining my front pieces. Remember, the two sides are not the same, so don't make the mistake of cutting the two sides as the same. Okay, so use your pattern pieces to cut the two sides. Now I'm pinning it together. I'm pinning the pieces of the front together and I'm going to the machine to join. I'm also doing the same thing for the back. I'm using my pattern paper as direction to guide me on how to join this together, because sometimes they can really be confusing. So keep your pattern paper close. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join the notches, the pieces for the back also. I've gone ahead to join it. Now for the lining, I added extra sewing allowance in the down part just to give it that firmness and structure because of the style that we are trying to achieve. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join the front pieces and the back pieces of the lining also. So now I'm done joining. As you can see, I've ironed it neatly. Just go ahead and iron yours very neatly. Ironing is one of the things you have to learn how to do once you're a fashion designer. Okay, now I'm joining my cups. Remember that we left 1/2 inch in the tip of the cup of this cup, so bear that in mind as you are joining your cup. Okay, so I'm going ahead to join my cups. I'm using my pattern pieces as direction, okay, to guide me to join the piece. So keep your pattern paper close, your pattern your already drafted pattern papers close. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join the cups. This is what it looks like. I've ironed it out. Iron out with your tailor's ham. Okay, iron it out, let it lay flat. Now that I'm done ironing my papers, my cups, okay, you see how it already looks, already looking good and looking firm. So the next thing we're going to do is to start the buskaging. I'm going to be using buskaging method for this corset because my client, she is not very busty, but she wants the cup to give, you get right? So I'm going to be padding this very well, and this pattern will also help you if your client or your customer is busty, he has a full bust. Okay, so you may not pad as much as I'm going to pad in this video, but then bust caging is really going to help you give structure to the bust of your clients. Okay, so the first thing I did, as you can see, just look closely, you see that I marked 1/2 inch round the cup. Then I started inserting lines, buskaging lines to it. So just look closely, you see how I'm inserting the lines. It's not difficult to do, just insert the lines to form like a basket. Okay, so I'm correcting the down line to just make sure that everything just sets. Okay, everything set. I like the use of that language. All right, so I've done that for the two of the cups. Just go ahead and form like a basket inside the cup. That's just it. Now I'm using Regilene boning. Now when you are sewing in your boning, don't drag the cup and don't drag the boning, the bone itself, okay, so that it will sit properly. When you turn it over and iron, it will work out. Okay, so I just decided to show you people how I am attaching the bones to my cup. So that's what I'm doing here. Just look closely, you see me attaching the bones. I am not dragging the bone, and I'm not dragging the fabric also. So just follow the lines you have already marked. There is no specific way to mark the line. That's why I didn't pause to start giving you a tutorial. Just follow the lines that you have already marked in such a way that it will give you the structure that you need. That's all. And then sew, and then sew on the both lines, both parts of the bone. Then the difficult part of this boning is this curved one that I'm doing now, but just do it. It's just a slow and steady kind of sewing. Just slowly you will get it right. Now I'm done with my boning. Are you seeing how firm is already looking? Like it's looking very, very firm. By the time you iron this thing out, like I've ironed this thing out at this point, like it's very curved and very firm. The secret is just to use a lot of water and then your tailor ham to iron this. So sprinkle water. When I was sprinkling the water, it even stained it. The color that I used to mark it even came off. But then it doesn't matter. It's going to be inside the clothes, so don't worry. Now this thing I'm doing is very important. Notch round your cup space on your lining. Notch it, like cut small lines, just small, so that it will not be too much. Okay, this is going to help you to sew. This is going to make that place malleable. Those cuts I gave in that, just if you didn't get it, just rewind, like reward now. Just go back a bit and then you will see it. I had to notch it. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Okay, now I'm done attaching my boning. It's not very easy to attach, let me tell you the truth, so don't be deceived that I did it so fast. Okay, all right, the next thing we're going to do is to do the same thing for the main fabric. Now I'm attaching the cup for the main fabric. Remember to always align your cup to the line, to the dart line that you already have. So align your cup to the dart line that you already have, and then use your notches to do the joining. Now the next thing we're going to do is to cut out the yoke. I've already cut out my own yoke. I'm going to trim. Now if you observe that this my own style, it doesn't have a deep sweetheart neckline like the style in the inspiration video, because in the inspiration picture, sorry, because my customer does not want that deep cut. So if your customer, or you're sewing for yourself and you want that deep cut, then you're going to be careful how you do your boning so that it doesn't interfere when you are trying to recut to form your sweetheart neckline. Do you understand? All right, so now that I've trimmed off the excess that I have, I'm just doing a very sharp notch. This is just a very sharp notch to remind me, and then to just form a very, very slight V. Okay, so when I'm done doing that, the next thing I'm doing is to attach my front yoke. Now remember that when we were doing the pattern drafting, the yoke stopped at the one of the dart legs. Okay, so that's exactly where we're going to stop the yoke, but we're going to give 1/2 inch allowance for turning the neckline with a bias. Okay, so we're going to be doing that with 1/2 inch. So we're doing the same thing for the back. So I'm going to place it the way I placed it when I was doing the cutting. I'm going to be joining it to the second dart leg, that is to the darts. Okay, but I'm going to leave 1/2 inch for turning the rough edges with bias. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the bias. I'm going to use the bias to turn the rough edges. Then I'm going to sew. I'm going to join the yoke to the fabric. Okay, I'm doing the same thing for the back. I've already applied my bias, and I have also joined the yoke to the back pieces. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to join the sides, to join the front to the back. Okay, now when I'm doing this, now look very carefully. I left 1 inch sewing allowance. Now when you get to this curved area down, okay, you're going to sew it curved the way we cut it curved. You're also going to sew it curvy so that it will give that curvy look when you are done. Okay, now we are going to be boning the lining. I'm using inbuilt boning method for this. I'm boning only the lining. If you observed in the picture video I did earlier, I did only the lining. This is because this is what the customer wants. But if your customer wants it exactly the way the inspiration picture is, you both the inside of the lining and outside. So this way that I'm drafting the lines for the inside boning is what you will still do outside. You will do it inside and then you do it outside. It will even give it more firmness and more structure, and it will enable you to snatch it even more because the corset itself is firm. So if you want it to be exactly the way the inspiration picture is, please do well to also bone the outer part. You're going to now have to use boning channels, form boning channels outside, that is in the main fabric also. Okay, so I hope that is clear. And you will use Regilene boning to encase your Regilene boning, or you can also encase your plastic boning. All right, and then sew it on the outer part, that's the main fabric. But for me, I'm doing only the inner corsets. I'm using the inbuilt corset method for this. Okay, so I am going to be adding the boning lines. I'm just drafting out the boning lines I'm going to use. Go ahead and draft out your own boning lines the way you want to do it. Okay, so remember, if you are going to add boning to the outer part of your corset, do it before this stage. Do it before joining the front to the back, because it will be difficult for you to do when you are done joining. I hope that is clear. Okay, so what I'm doing now is to join the front piece with the lining piece. I'm joining the front piece with the lining piece. Now observe the way I joined this my yoke. I first started to sew the yoke, and then I jumped the joining, and then I continued sewing. So this is going to allow me to open it up when I want to join the front with the back. Okay, so now I'm pinning the front together with the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew. Now, while I'm sewing, I'm going to be adding hemming gum to my stitches. So I'm going to sew with hemming gum, right? So now I'm going to go and add my boning. I'm going to sew in my boning to the channels that I've already marked. So now I'm done sewing my boning to the channels. I use Regilene boning for this. Okay, you can, if you want to use plastic boning, I always advise you use Regilene boning for the lining, but for the outside you can now use plastic boning and create boning channels. But I'm not boning the main fabric like I explained earlier, because that's not what my customer wants. Okay, now what we're going to do next is to flesh out the bust caging. Now, you know, after caging these things, it usually looks strong and too structured. So we're going to be using fiber. Mind you, you can use fiber, you can use wadding to do this. You can totally use wadding to do this. I just like the way fiber feels when you use fiber. Okay, that's why I'm using fiber, but you can use wadding to do this. And I applied the wadding, the fiber twice. Okay, I put the first layer, I put another layer, just to give it that fullness. Like I explained earlier, my customer wanted her boobs to look, you know, full and all of that, but she didn't want it to come down so much at the same time. You get that? So that's why I had to use all the fleshing out and all of that. Now I'm still going to add foam to I know this is looking like a lot, but it's worth it at the end of the day. Okay, so for the way I cut this foam, I cut the exact measurement I have on my pattern for my cup. Now I removed the ½ inch that we left in the topper layer of the pattern, if you remember when we did that. Okay, so and then I use zigzag stitches to join it. Now if you don't have a zigzag machine, just add sewing allowance to the joining and then sew with your sewing allowance and trim it out. Now the next thing I did was to put gum stay inside the cup, and then place the foam and then turned it upside down. turned it to the front. I put my, observe that I put my very old tailor's ham on it inside it. So don't iron anything that is curb or bustier without tailor's ham. Okay, so I ironed it out. The gum has helped the cup to stick inside my clothes. Okay, so now I'm trimming out what I have. I'm trimming out the down part to make it equal because I'm going to be joining the down part. We're almost done with this tutorial actually. You see how fast and simple it is to video. It's not very easy to sew, but once you start videoing, it makes it easy. And I'm going to be changing this my tailor's ham. It's already looking very ugly. So if you want to see how I will make my new tailor's ham, just comment tailor's ham in the comment section and I will tag you when I post that video. Okay, so next thing I'm going to be doing is to flesh out the hip area. What I did was to come down by 2 inches from the waist, and then I formed an angle. Just form a curve. Make sure that the curve you did for the one side is the same thing for the other side. So there is really no measurement for this. Just make sure that what you did for one side is what you're doing for the other side. That's what I'm measuring. I'm measuring what I did for the right side so that I can use it for the left side. Okay, so come down 2 inches from your waist and then flesh out what you have left. Okay, this is a pattern usually used for conical corsets that I use for conical corset, but I like to use it whenever I have a corset that have an extended hip. Okay, now this is my pattern, my method. I just thought of it and decided to do it. So I've been doing it and it has been working. So if you have your own pattern of fleshing out your hips to make it look fuller before you start especially when I'm doing skirt and blouse, I know I'll pad my skirt's hips. I also like to just flesh out my top hips a bit just to give that, you know, that gorgeous figure 8 look, right? So this is my style. If you don't do this, just maybe you shouldn't bother, but you can try it out and see if it works for you or for your customer. Okay, so what I did was to just apply my fiber to this. You can also use wadding for this. You can totally use wadding for this. So I applied my fiber. I just like the way fiber feels. That's just why I always use it. Okay, so I added my fiber with, I use my hemming gum to apply my fiber on the arc that I drew, okay, that I created. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing is going to be to join my main fabric with the lining. Okay, so now I'm done joining and I'm just trimming out the excess because I'm going to turn it over. I don't want it to be bulky. Now listen very carefully and look very carefully in this area. Now once you cage your cup, you have to be careful when you're ironing it. Okay, one, you have to drag the front cup to meet the back cup. Usually it's a struggle to do this, but you end up being able to do it. When you do that, you're going to use your pin to hold it, and then you're going to use your needle and thread to tack it. Okay, now you're going to do the same for the sides. Just like open up the front pieces so that the front cup, so that it would accommodate the caged part. You get that? Okay, so just drag it, just let it accommodate very well, and then you go ahead and iron. But when you're ironing, you're going to put your tailor's ham under it, and then you iron the entire front. So now I'm done ironing the front. That's why it's looking so flat and looking so gorgeous. So if you watch this video to this point, that means you like it. Do well to give it a thumbs up. If you're a new subscriber, if you are new to this channel, do well to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. And for my OGs, especially my wonderful people from TikTok that came to look for me from TikTok, I love you all. Thank you for always supporting my channel. Just send me your favorite emoji in the comment section so that I will send you a hug. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so for the back, I'm going to be boning the back. Now I'm going to show you 2 different methods of doing your boning for your back, so you choose the style that you want. Okay, so for this first side, I'm going to just be doing a single boning. What I'm going to do is to go in by 1 inch and I'll roll it out with my chalk. Okay, so once I'm done doing this, next thing I'm going to do is to sew a straight line on that 1-inch line. Now I'm going to insert my boning. Actually, I'm supposed to use Regeline boning here. I'm going to remove this. I'm supposed to use plastic boning. I'm going to remove this Regeline bone that I'm using right now. Okay, I'm going to remove it after now because I don't have Regeline boning, plastic boning right now. Okay, so what you're going to do is just to fold in the boning that you are adding. That is a plastic boning you're adding. Use plastic boning for this, guys. Okay, now use plastic boning for this, and then you fold it in, and then you stop 1 inch to the down part. You leave 1 inch where you will insert the boning. Okay, so I'm done doing the folding in, and I've inserted the bone. Okay, for this side. Now for this side, you usually use this style if you don't have a plastic bone, and even if you have a plastic bone, you can use your plastic bone for this. So first thing is to mark 1 inch at the center back. Now when you're done doing that, you now mark ½ inch twice. You mark the first ½ inch, then you mark another ½ inch. Now on that, the last ½ inch that you mark, you're going to sew a straight line and then insert your boning, insert your plastic boning or original boning, and close it up with another stitch. Now you're going to come down to the other 1 inch, that is a 1 inch mark, and sew. I've done that. Now let me repeat myself: 1 inch, ½ inch, and ½ inch. You sew on the first ½ inch. On the last ½ inch, insert your Regeline bone or your plastic bone, close it up, and then you sew on the 1 inch line, and then you will now fold it in just the way we did for the other side. You will now fold it in, just fold it in with 0.25 inches, and then leave ½ inch or 1 inch where you will be able to insert your boning. Okay, so do well to use, once you're inserting boning for this center back, use plastic boning, not Regeline bone. I don't have plastic boning, and I'm doing this tutorial in the night for you guys, so I had to just use what I have. I had Regeline bone, so I used it. Okay, so I'm going to remove it after now. Now I've gone ahead to fix my eyelet, and this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you have any question, I'm right there in the comment section to answer your question. Are you seeing how strong this cup is? Okay, so if this is the kind of cup you want to achieve, go ahead and use this style. But I have like 5 different cup methods. I think I'm going to be doing a tutorial on that. If you want to see my 5 different ways of forming bra cup, homemade bra, just comment bra cup in the comment section, and I will tag you. If I have enough persons that want the video, I will do the video and I'll tag you. Okay, thank you. Bye.